Slightly above average. That's good enough, right?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And so Sabrina is going to share something she knows a lot about, and I want you guys to lean in. She asked what I was talking about, and as I was explaining what I was talking about, I was explaining to her that this is kind of all your fault. You did this, so it's behind your computer. You hid it from yourself. This idea of evidence and getting people to be able to really be clear, understand who you are, what you do. So I want you guys to lean in. I want you to take notes. I want to make sure you're writing action points on all these speakers. It's not just speakers you heard, but they're people that prompted you to live and to do and to actually apply your thing you need here. So, Sabrina, take it away.
Hey, awesome. So, I'm Karina, and we are going to be talking about creating buzz and the art of getting others to talk about you. Who would like more people to talk about them? Nice things? What do you want people to say about you? Just yell out a couple of things. Obviously nothing, because nobody's very excited about what you want people to talk about you.
He'll take good care of you.
What?
He'll take good care of you.
He'll take good care of you. I like that. Anybody else?
It was worth the money.
Oh, worth the money. Okay.
He's awesome.
Awesome. One more.
She knows her stuff.
Yes. I love that. So I had this brilliant idea. And my two oldest decided that they had to have their birthday party before the end of the school year because they're summer babies, and summer babies, if you're one of them, you never get kids at your birthday party. Nobody shows up. Everybody's on vacation. Everybody's busy. Somebody's doing something else. So you feel like you're the forgotten ones. So mom put all the things together, and I was totally ready for what we were going to do that day. And so I had this great idea to get pretend donuts, and I was like, oh, we could put sprinkles on the donuts, but I was like, okay, we can't do edible sprinkles because that'll just be a mess with a bunch of little kids. So I got chunky glitter, because in my head, I was like, this is gonna be fine. I love glitter. It's gonna be easy to clean up, that's why God invented vacuums. And then we had a couple kids at our house that were those kinds of kids that like to open up every single drawer and the refrigerator at somebody else's house just to see what's in there. Not because they need anything, but just because they're really, really curious of what it was. And this glitter got dumped into a container and then got dumped into another thing. And then my 3-year-old tried to dump it back into the tiny little container that it came in and was magically all over my floor. And then I saw children run through this pile of glitter. And all of a sudden, it was not just in my one little contained area. It was now in my living room and upstairs in my bathrooms and all over the sink in our guest bathroom from people trying to wash their hands off of it. They get it off their hands, and then it got all over my sinks. And I was like, where did I go wrong here? I thought that this was going to be easy. I love glitter. How could this be so bad? And my daughter actually ended up rolling in it. How do I play this terribly like that? So she just sat here and rolled in the glitter because she was so excited that this was all over the floor and she wanted more of it. She saw it as something that was amazing, something that was valuable, and something that she wanted to have more of until it was all over her body. And she was just ecstatic to be talking about it. You can see that look on her face. And here's the thing. Becoming known is messy. Who feels like all the crap that they're putting out on the internet is just, I'm doing all the things. I'm trying to be known. I'm putting the blog post out. I'm doing the Instagram post. I'm making the TikTokies. I'm doing the short form video. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm all over the place, and I still feel like nobody fucking sees me. Who's there? One person. Are the rest of you like really figuring it out? Cool. Okay, so, or not doing it at all. See, that's a really good thing to realize about yourself, is because how can people talk about you if they don't know that you exist? We're expecting to be known and not actually know, nobody actually knows that you exist, so how can they know about you? It's like when you're complaining that you can't find a date or you can't make any friends or it's so hard to do anything as an adult with other adult humans, are you doing anything to be in front of those people? The thing is that the mess is in your favor. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And everybody's trying to show you the secret sauce. I have the secret sauce. If you pay attention till the end. I know it's the end of the day. I know everybody's a little bit worn down and we've had some really good food. But I promise if you engage with me back and forth, you're going to get much more out of this than if you just sit there and take notes. Because my goal for you is that you take this information and you make it an action item that you take into your life, and you can start today with these. So the mess creates the message that creates the stories that stick around. You want to be like glitter. You want to be annoying and sparkly and sticky. Because when you're sticky, that's when people remember you and you constantly are coming up all over the place. Yes. So getting messy right now for you may look like going viral once. Who's done that? You figured it out one time. It was awesome. You got the 50,000 views and then nothing happened. It also might look like seeing engagement and then hearing crickets. Thinking that this is going to be the chance and then doing the same thing and having it flop. It also might look like trying multiple things and ideas and feeling like you're failing. You've tried to do a short, you've tried to do a live, you've tried to put things out on Instagram. I mean, does anybody have a specific platform where you're like, I just can't do it anymore, it's not working? Yell your platform. LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn. We can chat about that later. Any other platforms that you're like, I can't do this, it's not working for me?
I suck at Twitter.
Okay, Twitter. That's always mine. I'm like, birds. Anybody else? One more.
MySpace.
You know, we all figured out MySpace didn't work. It was we collectively decided that one. Okay, but when we would leave our unique, leaving your unique glitter everywhere you go is how you create a path back to you. I want you to think about these things that you're doing as breadcrumbs. These are the breadcrumbs that lead back to you. So after this whole shenanigans, I had vacuumed my house 3 times. And like any good mom in the South, I packed up my children on a Sunday morning and took them off to church because I needed to get them out of my house for a couple of hours. And we're doing stuff. I pick them up from church. I'm like, okay, everything's going better. We're getting to the point where things are looking up and up. And I dropped everything out of my hands onto the floor. And I was like, oh my gosh, how could this happen? What is going on with this? Why is this the way that our day is starting? And I looked down to grab my cup that's now spilling all over the floor, and there's little spots of glitter from my house all over the church floor. And I was like, we're just going to leave that there. And that's actually where this message was born out of, is because of that glitter that I found at church. Because it wasn't just the glitter that I was talking about with my friends and in my own house and that was getting scattered around my community. It was the glitter that then got stuck enough for it to go somewhere else. So you're getting a lot of glitter today from people. You got some yesterday from people. You're going to have little messages, little one-liners that you've written down. And how are you going to take those things and move those ideas and those thoughts that you've had into reality after this so that you can start leaving your own breadcrumbs for yourself? You want to be everywhere and leave something that sticks around. That's why people work with Karen and write books. That's why people get strategy from Terry. That's why people get help with their career from Diana. Because they want to be able to have something that they can leave around. A lot. Sometimes that's legacy. Sometimes that's the thoughts that they have. Sometimes that's building a business. You get to decide what that is for you. And I'm not telling you, if you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go be sparkly like Cabrina. Please don't. It makes it harder for me because I will just be more sparkly. But at the same time, what is that unique thing for you that you're bringing to the table? Charlie and I were talking about this yesterday. He was telling me a great story about himself. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the exact thing that I need to be hearing from you of why I should listen to you about what you do. And it hadn't occurred to him because, to us, these stories that we've gone through, the situations we've done, they're boring. We've done them. We've seen it. It's not as glitz and glamoury to be in those situations because of the fact that we're like, oh, well, I grew up really poor. I, got off on the wrong side of the bed today. I have too much weight on me. I don't have a cool job. I've not done anything cool. I was actually at a coffee with some people that I met on the internet who are also Taylor Swift fans in Nashville, because that's what I do. I meet random people on the internet and then go places with them. And one of the girls was like, I had no excuse to be dating this guy because there was nothing cool about him. He didn't have a cool job. He didn't do anything cool. And thus, I'm not cool. I don't do anything fun. I don't know cool people. And I was like, oh, tell me more about you. And so we started to get talking, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So just like what Jason was talking about earlier, being curious about people and talking about who they are is what helps bring some of this out. And that's why you have to be in community for these things. The great thing is that glitter was an accident. It was actually invented by a mechanist in the 1930s who was trying to just chop up paper. He was trying to find a quick way to cut paper, and it malfunctioned, and it started to cut it very quickly. And all of a sudden, he was left with all these sparkly bits of paper, and the company to this day still makes thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of glitter every single year because of this oops that happened. And so those oops that are happening in your life, those moments when you're not sure if this is going to be a story that I want to tell, those are the moments that you need to be remembering, because those are the things that are going to attract your people back to you. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So the other thing about glitter is that it actually has a very interesting idea of it's been used for. So one of those things is actually what's called military chafing. And I know you're thinking it's just because their thighs were too close together, and that's not the kind of chafing that we're talking about today. What it was is they would actually take giant glitter bombs and disperse glitter from aircraft in order to confuse the people that were trying to target those aircrafts to shoot them down. So they were using it as a confusion mechanism. They also have been used to solve crimes. So there was actually a little girl who wore glitter shoes, and they were able to catch a pedophile because of it, because everywhere she walked, she left glitter. There is actually investigators, and they've been collecting this data since the 80s, of how crime scenes that have glitter involved are almost perfectly solvable. So how can you create an environment where you can perfectly solve for people's problems? The thing that I want you to remember, if you remember nothing that I say today, besides there's this weird girl in a sparkly shirt talking to me, is that people are attracted to sparkle. And this is why it is so imperative that you find your sparkle. And it's an evolutionary thing because of the need to find water. The one thing that you have to have in order to survive is water. So what if the people that you're here to serve, like Seth Godin says, the people you seek to serve, you're the water that they're looking for. And if you're not going to put your sparkle out into the world, they're not going to find it. Okay. Your glitter is the evidence, and when it has purpose and intention. So a lot of you are putting out evidence into the world that has no intention. Who feels that way? Does anybody feel like they need a better strategy for what they're putting out there? Does anybody feel like they're putting spaghetti against a wall, hoping that it's going to stick? Yeah? And it can feel that way, even when you're making the messy stuff. This is all practice. We've had several people say, it's in the journey. You know, we take advantage of the journey because we're trying to get to the destination. So we're creating a path. So remember Hansel and Gretel. They take their little breadcrumbs and they're spreading them out over their path to come back to. What we find out now is that they should have used glitter because it would still be there. And that's what you guys need to be remembering in all of this. Because you need to create content like glitter that throws your competition off and assist your people in finding you. Just like the aircraft and the military and the investigators. So how are you creating content that gives people a reason to follow you? Because we're always asking, what's in it for me? If I don't know what's in it for me for working with you, Joey, why would I say yes? Yes, you've taken care of us. Or yes, it was worth the money. Or yes, she is amazing. Why should I say those things about you? Why would I connect with you as the person who you're trying to serve? What makes you solve my problem? Because we're all selfish. Nobody cares what problems you have. If you need to pay your bills, if you need to live indoors and eat, there we go. Nobody cares about those things. And we come into this going, well, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. When really we need to be saying, how am I helping the people who have the bleeding neck problem that I can easily solve? So ultimately, how do we get people to talk about us? How do you think that people talk about you? Does anybody have people talking about them currently? Okay, what do people kind of say about you?
That I care.
Okay, that you care? Specifically about work things or just like life in general?
I think more about life in general with the people from work.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else have people talking about you? Okay, cool. Let's get them talking about you. And this is more than testimonials, guys. I cannot tell you. I was doing research for this talk this week, and I kept trying to find podcasts and articles and blogs about how to get people to talk about you. And I kid you not, there were several that said, make a good meal, have a good conversation. And I was like, how does that help me and get people to talk about me in business, especially on the internet? Because if you think about this, we are constantly bombarded with information. And if you're trying to reach people in the digital landscape when you're not necessarily in a room with them, like I know DJ, I can come and talk to you and we can have a conversation and we can connect. And then you might talk about me. Great. But what do you do with all those people that are just seeing an Instagram post or a TikTok or you on a video somewhere? How are we going to get those people to talk about us on a regular basis and make them want to talk about us? That's the key, is how do we make people want to talk about us? So people only talk about what they understand and can see. And this is what glitter does. It puts it in a spot where it's visible. It's sparkly. It catches your attention. And the sad thing is that most entrepreneurs are their own best kept secret. Y'all are so afraid to get out in front of people in a way that makes you visible and makes you memorable. Because we think that if we put that one post out, that one video out, that all of a sudden that's going to fix our problems, when in reality, we have to go through 4 different steps in order to get there. So being talked about in the marketplace means being out there and showing up. And your sparkle is going to make others stop and stare. And that's what's going to make them talk. So I can guarantee you, if you know much about the Savannah Bananas, like we've gone through, is that I'm sure that the shirtless guy was a little bit more put together because we've seen Chippendales and stuff like that. However, doing things like having separate baseball teams and figuring out what the name was going to be and buying a stadium, nobody thought that they were going to make it. Everybody thought that they were crazy. Are you willing to do things so well and so intensely that people will sit there and tell you that you're crazy? Like seriously, are you willing to do that? And that's something that you have to ask yourself of, do I have the audacity to get out in front of people in a way that will make me stick? So, how do we get out there? The first thing is consistency. Being an outlier, zigging instead of zagging, and embedding yourself. And we're going to go through each of these. So feel free to stop me and ask questions as we go, because I'll show you a special thing at the end. So how do you consistently create the evidence that gives people the pieces to talk about you? Anybody? How are you creating evidence currently? Okay, webinar, social media. Anything else? Okay, keynotes. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we do this through creating value. And I can sit here and tell you here's what we should do for a hook, and here's what the middle part looks like, and here's what the end looks like, and here's how to do it right CTA. But at the end of the day, this is going to be, how do you bring value? And some people, that's going to be, I have a bunch of facts. That's going to be, Jason had a great post yesterday or the day before with everything that he had learned so far since being here. There's going to be other people who that's going to be a funny meme. You have to decide what value you bring, and only you can tell me what that value is, because you know your people the best. There's going to be a bazillion people out there. Every guru is going to say, if you follow X, Y, and Z formula, this is what's going to work for you to bring value to the marketplace. And I can tell you, having studied different Instagram